So, when you don't know how to do something, how to fix something, or how something works, what do? Ask a teacher? Ask your parents? Ask your friends? Ask someone you really know and trust? No! You go to the internet and ask some randos. But I'm not talking about creeps here, I hope. No, I mean the people of the internet! You know, those people who make how-to videos. Because chances are, if you're trying to figure out something, someone on the internet has already figured it out for you. Things like, how do I unsend a text? No. How do I do a winged eyeliner? How do I get rid of the zit by Friday night? How do I get out of gym class? How do I screen cap Snapchat without getting caught? They'll never know. But then there are things in life that don't have an easy fix, that don't have a simple solution, that don't have a how-to video. Things like what to do when you have problems with family, or when it seems like you have no control in your life, or what to do when someone has done something to you. I mean, clearly, they gotta go. The truth is, there's a lot of life that doesn't have a solution you can just find online. So how do you know what to do when you don't know what to do?
Hey, what's up, people? Happy Mother's Day to everybody. You're probably not a mother, but happy Mother's Day anyway. Because you probably, maybe you made somebody a mother. Maybe. Hey, we're in week 3. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun. Week 3 of the series, What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do. And we are in one of those times where nobody knows what to do and everybody is just trying their best to figure out how to cope with the situation that we are in. And it turns out that our best is often not very good. What are some of the things that you're doing to take the edge off of having to stay at home? Comment those in the comments. I'd love to read some of that. What are you doing to keep from going crazy during this quarantine time? I don't know about you, but I shed a single tear when the stay-at-home order was extended this week. That was very sad news for me because I miss all you guys very much, and I see you a little bit on videos and stuff sometimes, but I just miss being in person with you, and I miss hearing your voice, and I miss just getting to hang out without any other purpose or reason. So hope you're doing okay, and onward and forward. We're in this together. We keep on going. So anyway, we're chugging along with our series and following the life of Joseph, which is crazy. This guy's life is crazy. It could be a reality show. It's so crazy. When we left Joseph last week, he had just been sold into slavery by his brothers, which is a huge bummer. And he's like 17, 18 years old. His brothers sell him into slavery. He's transported hundreds of miles away to a different country. His father, who loves him so much, thinks that he's dead. And so nobody is going to come look for him. He's just doomed to a life of being a slave in a foreign country for the rest of his existence. And it's pretty bleak outlook. But the story that we're reading of Joseph in the book of Genesis in the Bible said something really important about Joseph's situation. It said God was with Joseph. God was with Joseph in everything he did. And we were trying to talk last week about how if God is with you, that's enough. If God is with you, that's enough. Even if your circumstance doesn't change, even if your problem doesn't go away, the fact that God is with you is enough for you. And I've tried to teach you a way of prayer called breath prayer. I don't know if you remembered that. Maybe you were able to practice it a little bit, just to breathe in and say, Lord Jesus, it's enough that you're with me. And anyway, hope that helped you to feel like it's enough that God is with you, and just to focus on the fact that having God with you is enough. And really, this part of the story is, it's like when you go to Cedar Point, this part that we're going to talk about right now. It's like when you go to Cedar Point and you fly down the first hill and you got a lot of momentum, and then you go over one bump and it's like so thrilling, but then bam, it's not a very high bump. It just slams you down again pretty fast. That's what happens here in this story, and maybe I'll just read it for you so you can get the idea. This is the next crazy thing to happen to Joseph. So this is Genesis 39. I'm going to start in verse 2. Phone Bible systems. It says, "The Lord was with Joseph, so he succeeded in everything he did as he served in the home of his Egyptian master. Potiphar," that's his Egyptian master's name, "noticed this and realized that the Lord was with Joseph, giving him success in everything he did. This pleased Potiphar, so he soon made Joseph his personal attendant. He put him in charge of his entire household and everything he owned. From the day Joseph was put in charge of his master's household and property, the Lord began to bless Potiphar's household for Joseph's sake. After all his household affairs ran smoothly, and his crops and his livestock flourished. So Potiphar gave Joseph complete administrative responsibility over everything he owned. With Joseph there, he didn't worry about a thing except for what kind of food to eat." So, recap. Joseph has been sold into slavery to Egypt, transported to a different country, and he's sold to this guy named Potiphar. Potiphar's kind of a big deal. He's the captain of the palace guard for the king of Egypt. They were called pharaohs, but it's the same thing. So Potiphar is a pretty good guy to work for. Joseph gets a little bit of a break. So he's there, and he begins to work his butt off. He's trying to do the right thing every day and figure out how to gain traction in his new circumstance. One of the things you notice about Joseph is he doesn't give up, which is amazing. It's amazing that Joseph had a reason to keep going, and he didn't just flop over on the ground and be like, "That's it, I'm done." He figures out how to do the next right thing. Have you seen Frozen 2? If you haven't, do yourself a favor. The next right thing. Joseph doesn't lose track of his identity as one of the people of God. He doesn't lose track of his relationship with God. When something terrible happens to him, he figures out how to grab onto the only thing that he has left about him. His family's gone, his heritage is gone, his livelihood is gone, his freedom is gone. Everything is gone except for his relationship with God. He holds on to that and he doesn't let go. He figures out that it's okay, even though my life is terrible right now, God is with me, and that means it's enough that I can continue to keep doing the right thing. So he's a man of integrity. Everything he does, Potiphar can trust him. Potiphar trusts him more and more and more, gives him more and more and more responsibility as he shows his master that he can work hard and do the right thing. And pretty soon, Potiphar puts Joseph in charge of everything he owns, which is huge. That's a big deal. It's like if somebody was like, "Hey, you've done so good at school that now you're actually going to be the vice principal." And Joseph is like, what, 18, 19 at this point, right? Like, he's not ready for this, but he's doing so good that he just gets, bam, promoted to this high position in Potiphar's house. Here's where the roller coaster starts going back downhill again. Joseph was a very handsome man, well built, and Potiphar's wife soon began to look at him lustfully. "Come and sleep with me," she demanded, but Joseph refused. "Look," he told her, "my master trusts me with everything in his entire household. No one here has more authority than I do. He has held back nothing from me except you because you are his wife. How could I do such a wicked thing? It would be a great sin against God." And she kept putting pressure on Joseph day after day, but he refused to sleep with her, and he kept out of her way as much as possible. So, have you ever been in this position? Not the position where someone is propositioning you to sleep with them, not that position. Have you ever been in the position where doing the right thing is confusing and difficult? Sometimes doing the right thing isn't obvious. What is the right thing in this situation? For Joseph, it's a little bit more complicated than it would be for me or you, because, you might say, well, it's obviously the wrong thing to, sleep with this guy's wife. That's, everybody knows that's bad. But listen, in Egyptian culture, the slave, even though Joseph is in charge of all this stuff, he's still a slave. That means anybody that's from the household can technically tell him what to do. Okay? So if somebody that's from the household that he serves, aka Potiphar's wife, gives him a command, he's kind of obligated to obey it. But here's the thing. Obviously, if he goes ahead and does that and sleeps with his boss's wife, his master's wife, there's going to be some big problems for him. If anybody finds out about that, he's going to be in big trouble. But if he doesn't do it, he's disobeyed a direct order from his master's wife. So that also is going to get him into a bunch of trouble. So the reason we look at this and what we really can learn from Joseph's story at this juncture of time is when it comes to doing the right thing, we can't just look at what the consequences are to figure out what we should do. Pros and cons fail us sometimes because Joseph is stuck right now. If he does, it's going to turn out bad. If he doesn't, it's probably going to turn out bad. He's in a real pickle. And I don't know. I think it's important for us to talk about this because at some point, right has got to be right. At some point, you got to do something because it's the right thing to do, not because it's actually going to fix your situation. What I mean is this. When we're little kids, our brains are less developed, and so we just kind of think of the world as black and white. And take parenting, for instance. Your parents, when you were kids, tried to teach you right from wrong by giving you a bad consequence if you made a choice that they didn't want you to make. So you play in the street, you get a spanking. You reach in the cookie jar and steal cookies, you don't get cookies for a week. Whatever. I don't know what the rules are at your house. I'm just making stuff up. I'm pretty sure there's no cookie jar that's always just full of cookies in anyone's house. But anyway, your parents give you punishments sometimes based on stuff that you do that they don't want you to do anymore. So they're trying to teach you not to do it. And when you're a little kid, there's kind of no other way to do that because your little kid brain can't understand like, oh, well, this is why 2-year-old that you can't have a cookie anytime you want one, right? Like, they don't understand that. So you try to just like do it. So when you're a little kid, you make decisions on what you're going to do based on what the outcome is going to be. You learn, your little brain learns, okay, if I break the rules, something bad will happen to me. So I need to think to myself, is this worth it, right? And by the time you're like 3, 4, 5 years old, you got a pretty decent grasp on the stuff that's going to get you in trouble and the stuff that is going to be okay for you to do. And the choices that you make, really, you're trying to have as much fun as possible and avoid as much punishment as possible. Have as much fun as you can and stay away from as much pain as you can. But, teenagers, you've probably noticed by this point in your life that there's a lot of situations as you become more like an adult, situations present themselves where every option is pain. That's kind of like the bleak, reality of some parts of adulthood, right? That's not the whole thing. Being an adult is great, and I have no regrets about getting older and getting more mature as I go on in my life. P.S. parentheses, sidebar. High school is not the best 4 years of your life. Okay? It's not. Don't believe it when they tell you that. Anyway, back to the main point. Sometimes in life, there's a crossroads And you can't make your decision based on which one is going to be more fun or less painful, because both of them are going to be equally terrible and painful. This is where Joseph is at. His bosses, his master's wife is like, come and sleep with me. Obviously, if he does that, he's going to be in big trouble if somebody finds out, right? If he doesn't do it, he's going to be in big trouble if somebody finds out, because this lady is technically in charge of him. So she can kind of push this situation as far as she wants to, because she has all the power and he doesn't. So how does Joseph make his decision? Well, look at it. Look how he weighs this together. Joseph refused. He said, look, my master trusts me with everything in his entire household. So the first thing that Joseph thinks about when he's deciding what to do, what the next right thing to do is he thinks about the relationship that he has with his master. He thinks about trust. He says, Potiphar trusted me, your husband trusted me with everything in this house. If I do this, it's going to destroy that trust that he gave me. There's one thing. No one here has more authority than I do. He has held back nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. Watch this. This is where it gets really interesting. How could I do such a wicked thing? It would be a great sin against God. Wait a minute. A great sin against God. Why? Why would it be a great sin against God? How did he get from Potiphar trusts me, and if I break his trust, that's bad, to it's going to actually be a sin against God? Here's the thing that we do, that God never intended for us to do, but we do anyway. We treat the idea of right and wrong like some sort of cosmic law that's just over top of us, hovering in the air, right? It's just something that's out there, that right and wrong is just arbitrary rules that God was just sitting by himself on a cloud one day and it's like, you know what I'll do today? I'll make up some rules and I'll call them right and wrong. You know, like, that's not what it is. You ever heard the phrase God is love? Yeah, that comes from the Bible. God is love, and it's true. God, by his nature, is love. That means that God thinks relationships of trust are important. And not just important. God thinks relationships of trust are kind of the most important thing in the world. In fact, when people say, you know, are you a Christian? Are you a believer? They talk about these words, Christian or believer. Really, that's what they're talking about. Do you trust God? Would you put your trust in God? Do you think God has your best interest in mind? Do you think God is trustworthy, that you could trust him to be managing this whole world and to be looking out for you and to be doing things that are right? Right and wrong aren't just a arbitrary made up list of things that God made when he was born. Right and wrong are extensions of who God is. God is love. That means if somebody trusts you and you break that trust for a selfish reason, you're hurting God. God's not about that. God's about love. God's not about you breaking trust with people in your life. That's why it's wrong for you to disobey your parents. Not because your parents are perfect and everything they do is perfect and everything they do is good. No, they mess up and they do stuff. They want you to do stuff that maybe isn't quite right at the time or whatever. But the issue is, if your parents can't trust you, God has an issue with that. If your parents can't trust you because you don't follow through on the things you say you're going to do, that's a problem between you and God. Why? Because God is love. To God, trust and relationship are the most important things in life. It's important that you trust God. It's important to God that He can trust you. It's important to God that you can trust your friend. It's important to God that your friend can trust you. It's important to God that your parents can trust you. It's important to God that you can trust your parents. In a perfect world like God created it in the beginning, when he just made the first people, Adam and Eve, there was complete and total trust. Until Adam and Eve decided that maybe God was holding out on them. Maybe God was holding back from them. And that's the reason that the world kind of fell off its hinges a little bit and everything is broken and we have disasters and pandemics and sin. That's the word that Joseph used. It would be a great sin against God. Sins aren't just stuff that God made up arbitrarily that he won't like. Sin is the opposite of who God is. If the things that God is are what's right, and the things that God isn't is what's sin. And in this case, Joseph has a grip on that, and he says, "How could I do such a wicked thing? I'd be betraying the trust of somebody who trusted me. I would be violating a marriage between two people, and guess what marriage is based on? Trust, right? And therefore God would not be cool with that. We could call that a sin. That's what Joseph says. This would be a great sin against God. Did you know that? Did you know that you can't be cool with God if you're not cool with people? Did you know you can't love God and treat your brother like crap? Like, one of those has to win. because God is love. God is all about love and relationships. So if you go around having bad, broken relationships and you don't do anything to try to make it better and heal it, you're not going to have a good relationship with God, because God is about love and trust. Is this making sense? And so Joseph makes his decision on what to do in this impossible situation. Not by how it's going to turn out for him if he does this or if he does this. Not by pros and cons of how much fun is it going to be to do this versus how much pain it could cause me. Or how much fun is it going to be to do this versus how much pain. He actually doesn't take that into consideration. He thinks a different way. And that's why I'm inviting you, and that's what the story is inviting us to do, is to do the next right thing. Well, how do we know it's right? Well, we look at who God is. God is love. He's about relationship. He's about trust between people. He's about people being trustworthy. So if Joseph wants to be the kind of person that God wants him to be, he needs to not violate the trust that he has with Potiphar and the trust that Potiphar has with his wife. He needs to not destroy that. He needs to protect it and build that trust instead. So Joseph makes a difficult decision. He knows that by not sleeping with Potiphar's wife, he's putting himself at risk because he's disobeying a direct order. But he's decided it's less wrong of me to disobey this order than it would be for me to break the trust that my master gave me. So, what's that situation for you? What's the situation for you right now where you need to do the next right thing and you may not even be sure what right is at this point? I mean, maybe take school, for instance. Okay, you're getting all these assignments. You've been told that you're going to still pass. If you were going to pass before, then you're going to pass now. So you're like, okay, what do I do here? Because I don't want to do the work. It's not really going to help me because I was already going to pass and I'm still going to pass. So what's the point of doing the work? If I just don't do the work, it's going to result in more fun for me and less pain, because doing the work hurts and playing Call of Duty is fun, right? You could make the decision that way. Or you could take an opportunity to do the next right thing. You see, when you get to be an adult and you have a job, you're probably not going to get the opportunity to just not do your job anytime you want so that you can go play Call of Duty. If you have a habit of doing that, you get fired. So you could take an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm going to treat this as practice so that I will be more trustworthy to my employer in the future. I'm going to take this as practice, as a rehearsal for adulthood. Isn't that the thing, teenagers? Isn't that the thing that you wish adults would treat you more like adults instead of like kids? Well, maybe take the opportunity to prove that you're trustworthy by going ahead and doing your work, even though you know it's not going to get you more points at school than you already want to have. Maybe you take the opportunity to say, you know what? It's not about what I get in return. It's about the person I want to be. I want to be a person who follows through and works hard. I want to turn into an adult that is trustworthy and does what they say they're going to do. So that's the type of teenager that I'm going to be. Did you know that, by the way? Did you know that you can't just be any kind of teenager you want to be, and then the moment you're 18, flip a switch and morph into a completely opposite type of adult? Did you know that? Like, the type of teenager you are kind of, determines the type of adult that you're going to turn into. Like, the choices that we make turn our life in a direction. You can't just say, you know what, I'm in high school right now. This is my time to kind of mess around and do stupid things and make idiot kind of choices. And then when I'm an adult, when I'm in college or when I'm graduated from college, then I'll really get serious and buckle down. Dude, guess what? Every decision you make points your life in a different direction. So if you make a bunch of decisions over here, guess what? You're headed that way. By the time you want to clean up your act and really buckle down and get serious, you're going to be so far off the path that there's going to be all of this space you have to cover, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt like crazy. You're going to regret what you didn't do now. And that's one of the hopes and prayers that I have for you by sharing with you this story of Joseph. Because if you can manage to do what Joseph did, if you can manage to just do the next right thing, even if it doesn't fix your situation, even if it doesn't seem to have any effect on the painful situation that you're in, if you can figure out how to do the next right thing, you will have fewer regrets in your life. If you can figure out how to hold on to your relationship with God, even when every other relationship around you is in chaos, if you can be a trust builder, not a trust breaker, by doing the next right thing that's available to you, you're going to have fewer regrets in your life. You're going to be more like the person that God had in mind when he designed you. And so that's my question to you. What's the next right thing to you? What's the next right thing? Maybe you're in a pattern of behavior right now where you're actually breaking trust with somebody. Maybe there's something that you need to just confess to your friend, to your parents, to your brother, to your neighbor, to your small group leader. Maybe there's something you need to come clean on because you've been doing something that's breaking trust in a key relationship in your life, and you need to become a trust builder. Maybe that's the next right thing that you need to do. Maybe the next right thing that you need to do is to stop being so guilty and beating yourself up for stuff that you haven't gotten right. Maybe the next right thing that you need to do is to learn how to see yourself as God sees you, instead of just beating yourself over the head every time you mess up at something. I don't know what it is for you. Only you can know that. What's the next right thing for you? If you're confused about it, I challenge you to talk to your small group leader in just a few minutes. But I want you to ask yourself the question: what's the next right thing that I can do, regardless of if it's going to help change the situation around me? Regardless of if it's going to change the way I'm treated by people. regardless of if it's going to change the way that I have to stay home, or this quarantine situation, or the way school is going, or the way whatever is happening. What's the next right thing that you do have control over, that you can choose to do? And the next question goes right along with that. Who's holding you accountable? Who can help you follow through? Because it's so easy in certain situations to just sit here and go, yeah, I know what the right thing to do is. I'm really going to do it this time. I'm going to do it. And then you you turn the video off and you go see what's in the fridge or whatever. And by the time you get into the situation again, you're not as determined as you maybe were before. So you need another person. We all need this accountability. We need another person to be there in our life, somebody that we trust and that we know and who knows us, that can be there and say, hey, remember, you were going to do that. Have you done it? Who's holding you accountable? What's the next right thing? And who's holding you accountable? Man, I'll tell you what. It ended pretty rough for Joseph in this situation. But there's another upturn in the roller coaster. Tune in next week to find out what it is on this crazy ride that is Joseph's life. In the meantime, I hope that you're getting more clear on what to do when you don't know what to do. Week 3, do the next right thing. All right, we're going to go to small groups. If you don't know how to get in touch with your small group leader, once again, I'm putting my phone number in here. I know how to type. It's no big deal. There we go. Okay. Give me a call if you need help hooking up with a small group today. I'll leave the feed going for a couple minutes. Other than that, peace out. God bless you. And hopefully I will see you soon.